الزول في الأول السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Hello everyone. I just need to clarify some stuff about LLM and about machine learning and about this generative AI that it will replace our job. So we need to understand how it works to not freak out or doing some drama or whatever. So let me explain this in a simple way so everyone will understand. So what do we have? Because once we understood this, then we will know and understand which part are we going to replace to understand which job is talking about this I will be replaced. So we have, let's say we need to talk to computer. So the computer is here, the human is here. If it's between two humans, we need a language. I speak, you speak, let's talk. And since we need to interact with a machine, we need to use some kind of language because the machine at the end it only understands 1 and 0. So what happened? Smart people created a language, a programming language. So when we do our programming language, let's say C or C++ or Python or whatever, when we talk to the machine, we are giving it some instruction using those languages while having some interpreter here. So we need to have interpret to execute what we said in that language into what the machine will understand. So we used Python or whatever. And then there is some people they use command line, CMD or bash or whatever to write, for example, ls. So when I say ls to my machine, let's try this. Let's, for example, get here and then say, hey, ls. So what that means, give me what you have. So if I do ls-a, that means give me what you have plus what is hidden. If I say ls-l, give me what do you have plus put it in some kind of list. All this because we need to understand this language, which means that if I say list, it doesn't understand. So we need to use some kind of language that it's pre-configured in that machine. And then when we say a machine, we mean an operating system. So here is the what happened. When I typed ls, the ls went into bash. Now bash did some magic. There is an operating system. So this communication is what we need to do. So we installed bash shell and then we used this k word, which is ls, to interact with our operating system. Some people say no, we will use Python. So if I use Python, what happens is that this operating system, I need to install some Python interpreter. Interpret. Why? So Python interpret will understand how to talk to my operating system. That's why some people say Python and Java, they are portable. Why do we say portable? Because if I say ls, I need to install bash. And if I install bash, I need to install it on Windows. So I need to find a way how to make bash work on Windows. Since Python, it's already there, it's easier to install on Windows. That's easier to install Python rather than bash, because for bash we need to bring like Cygwin and all those stuff, but because there is something called POSIX, but we don't care about this. I just need you to understand that to talk to a machine, we need to install something. So the language we need to use some kind of language that this tool need to understand. And here comes LLM. So the LLM, the large language model, we use some kind of human language. I can make mistakes, I can say whatever I want. Then the LLM, so if I say list, as you can see here, list didn't work. But if I come to Gemini, and here, if I say list, this time it will understand. So if I say list, what do I have in this folder? This command, it will not work on Bash. But since I use Gemini, what Gemini did, it translated my human language into ls. So at the end, it will be always this command that already exists. So the layer is that if I say anything, the LLM will play that interpret, and then it checks for what's working on the machine. So at the end, I need to have Python installed to write some instruction that I will need to execute using Python. Otherwise, the LLM will not invent Python from scratch. Exactly when I said list, the LLM didn't invent the ls. The ls command existed. So to show another example, let's go into Kali Linux. So in Kali Linux, there is Gemini CLI. So if I try to zoom a little bit, and Gemini CLI, it's an old version, I think, but that's the one that comes in the repo. So if I do Gemini CLI, not only Gemini CLI, I need this as an argument, as a command, sorry. As you can see, by default, it's the Gemini Pro, not the Flash or in this version. So I think in future, because if I do model, there is no command for this. So as you can see, I'm using Gemini 2.5. So why I try to show Kali Linux? Because generally what hackers do, or what we call them, the beginners, which are called script kiddies, they take some scripts, which means that that's a kind of instruction, and then they try to hack into a system. That's what is called pen testing. And pen testing, by the way, that's not always a bad thing. We use pen testing to try to check if our system is vulnerable before someone else do that instead of us. So if I try to use the most known command, it's even executed in the Matrix movie, which is called nmap. So nmap, I try to check for my ports or for the machine surrounding me, but what I need to do, I need to go into nmap and check what I can do using nmap. So in the past, what I had to do is to do something like that. I go to the manual, I check what does nmap, what is capable, and then what I do, I try to check the arguments. What I do with capital A, T4, what does it mean? I don't know. I need to check all those ones. Now, what the LLM can do for me, instead of learning all that stuff, the LLM will understand the meaning of this manual plus what is online and summarize it in a way that when I ask for a question, I don't need to learn all the argument. So if I come here and then I say, I go into Gemini and then I ask, could you, for example, could you scan for or let's call, is there any open ports on my machine? So when I say my machine, if I was, if there is no LLM, I have to write loop back 127.0.0.1 or get my IP address in my local network and then scan using it. So as you can see, I need the command which is called netstat. If netstat didn't exist, the LLM will interpret what I need, but it will not work because the LLM is just here to help me summarize what I need, not to execute what I want. Because to execute what I want, I need the command, because netstat or nmap, they are here. So if I come here and let's say I ask it, I need to scan, for example, this is what goes into the LLM. The LLM tried to understand what I needed. It found that I need the command netstat, and then in netstat, which arguments I need also. So it come here, and then he said, okay, maybe he doesn't want only netstat, but I need this argument because this is the most used argument online. So let's use it. And then once it's used, then it asked for the operating system. So this one will never change. Of course, in 2025, in future, I don't know, maybe there will be another operating system in future, but right now, in the next year, 2 years, or maybe even 3 years maybe, because with this evolution, I expect something new. So this one will never change. What is changing now is how I am writing the commands. So the commands here, this is the one that's getting simpler. If, for example, the LLM doesn't know how to do it, or maybe it finds it harmful, then in that case, I need to go and check it by my own. Sometimes maybe if I try to do some pen testing, and then this command is forbidden, and Gemini will not show me how to do that, in that case, I need to go to the old way and old school. So that's what does the LLM. The LLM tries to solve this problem of, I'll give you an example. Let's say I need to use Linux, but I'm not a Linux user. So I need to use it, for example, just for a project for a DevOps. So I need to use it, let's say, for 1 month. So I have 2 choices. I go and buy a book, a big book with 1,000 pages, and read about Linux, try to practice, try to learn it, or I just go into Google and ask for a cheat sheet. I bring the cheat sheet, I use only what I need in the cheat sheet, and then I forget about Linux. And that's exactly what we are trying to do now. We try to simplify and evolve from that cheat sheet area to only use what I need. It's like it was a big book, big we got into Stack Overflow, searching on YouTube, searching everywhere to get what I need as a command, or I go into some cheat sheets, I take the command I need, or I just ask the LLM and do the job instead of me searching. So that's what LLM does. So let's say, for example, I run another machine here, which is called metasploitable, which is a vulnerable machine that you learn. It's generally used to teach how to pen test. So let's say, for example, I don't know the IP address. So if I type APA here, I already know what is IP. But let's say I don't know. So here, if I ask, for example, Gemini, and then I say, since they are in the same network, of course I'm using VMware, this one is host only, so it should get into this. So let's ask, is there any other hosts on this network? So here, I don't know which command, because if I didn't know in the past, I go into internet, and then I search on Linux, that network side, and then check how can I scan for the hosts connecting in the same network. So as you can see, there is this IPA, let's say, and then it got an IP. The second step, as you can see, it got this, and then it will use nmap. So as you can see, at the end, I need to use some command that exists on my machine. The LLM is here to summarize that job, not to execute it. So this is exactly what happened with agents, because at the end, the agents, they try to work together, and then what they do, they read the logs, and then they decide it works or not. But at the end, they need to execute some commands that are already installed on my machine. If there is no command on the machine, what they do, they go and bring it and install it, but they need to ask the user. So as you can see, it detected those address. So how about this one? This one is in this other subnet. So are you sure it's only those ones? I think I have another running VM. So here, the LLM, we try to understand, we try to see what I need about this. It tries to do what is called the attention between those keywords and try to bring the command I need for exact this. So now it says I need to use the nmap -p n s s. All this, as you can see, all those commands at the end, they are the commands we already used them long ago, not something new, and not something it will change. What the LLM tries to do, it tries to give me that cheat sheet to exactly know what I need. So here, so it says 9, the more detailed, still only found. So it seems it cannot get into the other machine. Try another subnet. Because they are not on the same network, so what I did, this one is NAT and this other one is host only. So okay, 172. How about some other machine that are in host only mode? So what happened now, I try to see if I can escape from this VM to another VM, because the hypervisor generally it doesn't allow, never allows to go out. So here, so it only uses this. Why? Because in the end it's just using something like this. So it's like using IPA. So it uses IPA and try to scan. So what I will do, because if I do host only, I need to create second interface to get internet, because the LLM needs internet to bring that command. Okay, so let me try. Okay, let me go. Yeah, Terminator is broken, I think. No problem. So okay, Gemini CLI, let me try again. And this one, 18. So let me try. Can you reach let's see, yeah, 18. It's in the 18 subnet. 18. So here, this is like ping, but since I don't know what is ping, I will use LLM, but at the end, it will use ping, which means that if ping was not in this machine, it will not work. So the LLM is here to interpret what I need. Okay, so let's try. Yeah, it was reaching it. Okay, so then how you did not detect it earlier? So let's see what Gemini says. And right now I'm using 2.5 Pro and I still have more commands to execute. I don't have past. Okay, so could you scan all machines near to you? Here we can use ARP, but those ones are network. But let's see what. So IP address, and as you can see, the beginning was the one that led to that part of it didn't found. Why? Because in the IP address, once they found this address, this one is not in this network. It has a different subnet. That's why the beginning was the one that led to the other commands that didn't see the other VM. So as you can see, the LLM is only here to assist you, but at the end you need the skill. That's why we call it the human in the loop. So at the end, the human decides what to do. So if you know what you do, the LLM here will really help you. It will not replace you. It will make it like, let's call it, it's modernized cheat sheet, where this cheat sheet will understand you better and makes you gain time. So instead of, for example, this is what I was saying when I was learning Python. I remember I have friends, they were using Java, and to be honest, Java for me, it was like a mess. For me, it never entered to my brain. I don't know why. So when they asked me why you don't want to use Java, I said, when I tried to use Java, I found myself focusing more into the pen rather than what I need to write. But in Python, I found myself focusing on what I need to write rather than the pen. So LLM is here to make it even easier. So you will focus more on productivity rather than the tools for those productivity. That's why LLM will not replace you. LLM will boost your productivity. So I hope it's clear. And as you can see now, it uses nmap and all that, and then it will ask for the whole network to check the surrounding. So I think there will be another tricks, but right now the idea, I hope the idea it's here. So that's the same thing for anti-gravity, that's the same thing for Gemini CLI, that's the same thing for any tool that uses AI and this generative AI and LLM. So they are here to boost your productivity, not to replace you. So unless you decide to do those tasks, repeated tasks, then the LLM will replace you, because that's exactly what script shell did for, I don't know if you heard about it. There is a story about someone who was like 10 years in vacation because he scripted everything and he never came back to work. So the scripts were doing his job, and then he came back. The problem, he forgot the commands, not because he was not doing his job. His job was done. But the problem, he forgot how to debug, because 10 years he didn't write anything. Everything was planned on a cron job with script shells and all that. So that's the idea. So the idea is to wrap up. If you don't have the tool, install it on your machine. Don't expect the LLM to use something to replace that tool. So what we need, always remember this layers. So what do we have? We have the machine, and then we have the operating system. So here the hardware, and then we have the operating system, and then we have the tools. The tools. Now Python, interpreter, Java, I don't know, C compiler, whatever. And then here, instead of putting the human interacting here with predefined commands where he need or when she needs to learn them all with the argument what we put a layer of LLM to make it easier to come into the LLM, and the LLM will translate this into the tool, which means that the tool needs to be installed in your computer to make it work. So I hope everything is clear now. Thank you very much, and of course if you have any question you can ask them. And I hope the sound worked at this time because it was cutting earlier. Bye bye.